The lake looks so pretty.
How are you?
Hey, what are you doing?
Just doing what I should have done last fall.
Oh, yeah? All
Planting
right.
the prairie out front.
Well, I have a present for you later when you come in.
Okay.
Have fun.
All right, you too.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Paws4Stitches podcast. My name is Candy, and I am coming to you today from Wilmington, New York, which is in the Adirondacks, about 15 minutes away from Lake Placid. Welcome to any new viewers who are finding this podcast for the first time, and welcome back, of course, to anybody who is crazy enough to be coming back and joining me for what could be perhaps the second, third, or fourth time. You can find me both on Instagram and Ravelry as Paws4Stitches, that's the number 4. And speaking of Ravelry, we actually now have a Ravelry group, the Paws4Stitches podcast group. I would love it if you come on over, sign up, check us out. Right now we're small in size. I think we have about 20 members, including myself, but we are absolutely mighty in awesomeness, so you can't beat that. And speaking of the Ravelry group, I wanted to go ahead and tell you a little bit about a newer thread that I actually have put up there that I realize I haven't spoken much about, so I don't think it's really gotten much attention yet, so I wanted to take today to talk about that. Those of you who are not new to the Paws4Stitches podcast are probably already aware that something I'm doing is I am giving out an award to podcasters to celebrate sort of the podcasts that I love and podcasters who are making wonderful contributions to this community. So far, the first Sheepie was awarded to Chelsea and Sue of the Legacy Knits podcast. The second Sheepie was awarded to Nicole of the Hugh Loco podcast. And the most recent Sheepie was awarded last time to Jen Sheelan of the Jen Sheelan podcast. I had mixed feelings about this because my list of Sheepie possibilities is ridiculously growing. But I decided that I'm not actually going to give out a Sheepie on today's episode. Instead, I'm going to use this, as I mentioned, as an opportunity to tell you about a way I'd like for you guys to get involved in this. For those of you who know nothing about the Sheepie, here is what a Sheepie looks like. This is a naked Sheepie, by the way. Usually when I award it to somebody, I have taken the time, my husband makes these for me, but I've usually taken the time to use some, oh gosh, I can't remember what that stuff is called, boiled linseed oil, I think, to kind of fancy it up and make it look a little bit nicer. There's a little thing that goes on the front here. There's usually the sheep gets a little award tag that goes around, but this is just a naked sheep, and that's where I need your help, because the thread that I opened up in my Ravelry group is a thread. It's a Sheepie nomination thread. So here's what I'm kind of thinking. I don't want this award. I don't want this award to be all about me. I don't want it to be all about just the podcasts that I'm loving to watch. I want this to be a place where we can all contribute and talk up some podcasts that we're all loving. So I think what I've decided to do, and I think on a lot of award shows they have something like this, something kind of more like the People's Choice Awards, where from time to time I go into the thread, I check out, for some recommendations and see what people have been watching and loving. And I'll go ahead and from time to time, I'll pick a podcast to give out sort of a People's Choice Sheepie Award. So that's why the Sheepie is naked today. And I'm sorry, it's actually kind of, it's not sad, but I look forward to actually giving out this award. So, I already know, just so you know, I already know who will be getting the Sheepie next time. But I decided to hold back just to be able to encourage people to go on over to the Paws4Stitches Ravelry group to check that out. So please go ahead. And I think I said People's Choice Sheepie, but I guess it's kind of like a viewer's choice Sheepie. I don't know. I'll make sure before I do that for the first time that I really nail down the name and what I want to call it. So please go ahead and get involved in that. At the very least, it will be a place within my Ravelry group, my Ravelry podcast group, that people can even go and check out. I know I do that a lot on some other podcasters have threads in there within their Ravelry groups where I love to go and see if there are any new podcasts that I haven't discovered yet on my own. So please go ahead on over and check that out because we don't want the sheep to be naked forever. So thank you so much for that. All right, moving right along, we are, I'm going to move into my current work in progress, and note that it is work, singular. And if you were with me last time, you know that I have a pretty significant project that I'm working on. If you were joined in on episode 3, you got the scoop that I am going to see the play Hamilton. I am going to see the play Hamilton next Thursday, June 2nd. So we are really getting down to the wire. And because this is such a big deal for me because of my slight obsession with this show, I am even thinking about my outfit for the show. Like, you would think I was actually coming up with a costume that I'm wearing because I'm performing in this thing. But I've seen a lot of fun Hamilton t-shirts. So I decided I wanted to go kind of get myself a fun t-shirt that I could pair with the item that I'm about to show you. But I did pull out the t-shirt because I can't not show this to you guys. So this is pretty much what I'm going to be wearing to see Hamilton. And I picked this t-shirt, My Thoughts Have Been Replaced with Hamilton Lyrics, because pretty much that is the absolute truth. I have my very good friend from work, Jen, who I'm going to see the show with. She and I have the most fun doing this because she's equally as obsessed. But we like to challenge ourselves to see how many Hamilton lyrics we can get into sort of whatever everyday conversation we might be having with one another at work, through texting, whatever the case may be. And it's so funny. Every time it happens, like I'll say the line within a context of a normal conversation, and I just die laughing. Like I crack myself up. And luckily Jen's there often, so at least somebody laughs back at me, but oftentimes that's not the case. So here's what I'm going to do. Throughout the rest of this episode, I know that there are some other viewers out there who are also obsessed with Hamilton. So I'm going to do a little fun thing here. Throughout the rest of the episode, we're going to have a little Hamilton scavenger hunt. What I mean by that is that throughout the rest of the time you spend with me today, I want you to be on the listen for some Hamilton references. Now, they may be direct lines from the play. They may be things that I've slightly modified to fit the context of what I'm talking about. But that's it. And here's what I want you to do, because this does involve a prize. If you keep track, write them down as you're listening, and then send me a private message, a personal message on Ravelry, that's Paws4Stitches, and tell me all of the ones you heard. And if you got them all, and if you are the first person to contact me, I'm going to send you a lovely prize, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that might look like in a moment, okay? Because here's the thing. Let's just say this is probably one of the biggest deadline knitting projects I've been working on in a very long time, and I'm not a huge fan of deadline knitting. It's not my favorite, and quite frankly, I am knitting on this shawl like I'm running out of time. Like I'm running out of time, like I'm running out of time. That is how I am knitting on this shawl. But if you remember from last time, I did show you, and it has grown significantly, thank goodness. This is my Shawl of Destiny. I dropped my progress keeper in the car on our way up to the cabin, but I think was only right about here where I'm wiggling my finger. So I've gotten quite a bit done since the last time. But this is the Shawl of Destiny by Amba O'Brien. And if you can't already figure this out, I've chosen these two spectacular colors because they pretty much identically match the colors on the Hamilton soundtrack. And also, it's called the Shawl of Destiny, and as I've mentioned before, I believed that it was my destiny to see this show. So I thought this was a perfect project to be working on. I'm kicking some pretty significant Hamilton butt on this thing, you guys, I think, anyway. But I wanted to just remind you that I'm working with two different color ways of Madeline Tosh Light. It's the gold is daffodil and the black is onyx. I couldn't get a full skein of onyx, which worked out fine because I really don't need that much. So I just grabbed a couple unicorn tails. So I'm super excited about how this is coming out. Where I'm at right now, though, I'm actually up at the cabin for Memorial Day weekend, and one of the things I realize is that I'm trying to figure out how much time I actually need in order to be able to have this done by Thursday night. I believe it's possible, but I also have to remember that I still have to block this bad boy too. So I think it's going to get done. I've definitely also, I wanted to make some confessions. I'm not going to show them until I've blocked it because I'm not going to worry about it for now. I'm usually concerned about mistakes I make, and normally I do go back and take the time to, sort of to rip back or do whatever I need to do, think back to find those mistakes and fix them. It's not happening. The couple mistakes I've made, I've just figured out ways to get around them and get back on track because you know what? This project is non-stop and I need to just keep working on it. Mistakes be damned. I'm just going to plow right ahead and see where we get. So that's pretty much it. That is and if you don't remember from last time, I have like a fun project name for this. This is my Lin-Manuel MISHAWLDA in honor of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is pretty much a freaking genius. And if you haven't yet listened to the Hamilton soundtrack, stop watching this podcast right now and go find it. You can actually, I think you can even somehow in a free sort of way get some of the songs through YouTube. I've noticed that, but I went ahead, it's probably the best iTunes purchase I've ever made because I seriously do listen to this thing all the time. And I'm super looking forward to the show, of course, on Thursday, and I can't wait till next time when I podcast and I'll be able to tell you guys all about it. I'm already envisioning all kinds of amazing opportunities to take pictures of my finished shawl, which obviously I will be wearing over my Thoughts Have Been Replaced by Hamilton Lyrics t-shirt. Okay, so stay tuned for an update on all of that goodness next time. All right, so as I said, that was a work in progress. So this is the point, I guess, as a podcaster where you're supposed to feel kind of lame, but I don't because this was an important project and I've really needed to dedicate a ton of time on that. But that doesn't mean, as we all know, as we're working on projects, we're always daydreaming about the next thing we want to be working on. So I did want to take some time to tell you guys about another couple things that I will be jumping right back into as soon as I am finished with my Hamilton shawl. First of which is let me grab something. Oops. The first of which is my sort of variation of the Cozy Memories blanket, which I started to show everybody this the last, I guess it was the last episode, where I am taking, instead of having one square and just adding on one square at a time, I am counting one of these. This is the Noro mitered Afghan pattern. And I'm taking one of these as an opportunity to kind of represent either someone or something special in my life that I can talk to you guys about. Now, I haven't started adding on the third square, but I at least wanted to tell you guys where I'm going next. It's June 2nd will be the anniversary of when we lost my sister-in-law, Helen. And Helen absolutely, hands down, is one of the most amazing people that I've ever known. So I already knew that in the month of June at some point I wanted to work on my Helen square. So I'm not going to talk much about Helen or the square right now because I want it to be finished first. But I did want to give you guys a sneak peek of the colors that I've chosen for that square. One of the things, I think I've said this before, that I'm loving about this project is that I'm not really all that concerned about matchy colors looking perfect together, because each of these colors that I have in my hands right now has a certain significance and will help me to tell some stories about Helen, hopefully the next time I am ready to podcast for you guys. So I wanted to let you know that I was on, kind of going to get back on track with that as soon as I'm done with my big project that I'm working on. So here's the one other thing I wanted to talk about related to that, though, is the minis situation. It's not really a situation. I have some minis indeed, as many of us do. But you know what? I will never be satisfied. I will never be satisfied with the number of minis I have. I need more. I need more choices because the way this project works, I really do look for inspiration through the colors that I have to choose from so that I can actually find things to help me tell whatever story I'm trying to tell about that person, event, or moment in my life, whatever the case may be. So one of the things I'm super excited about, and I wanted to say a huge thank you to Melissa from the Spicy Homemaker podcast. On her last episode, she talked about the Must Stash Sheep Swapless Swap that is going on in the Sock Yarn Mini Swap group on Ravelry, which is led by Lisa, who is Life Full of Laugh, I believe. And seriously, I listened to Melissa's podcast, and I usually don't have the time to jump and do something right away, but it happened at a really good time. I went right on. I signed up. I think I might have even got one of the first spots for this swap because I've never worked with mustache yarns before. So I'm super excited about that. It's a swapless swap because I don't have to send anything to anybody else. I am paying for this. And I'll post the information in my show notes for anybody who's interested. I'm pretty certain there may not be any spots left, but Lisa, it sounds like she does these swaps fairly frequently. So I would strongly encourage you to at least go over there and check out her group and see what else she might have going on or coming up, because it seems like she has swaps going on pretty much all the time. Last but not least, along those lines, I wanted to tell you guys that I would certainly welcome or be interested in swapping with anybody. If anybody, at just kind of a random moment in time, if you're looking for somebody to swap minis with, give me a holler, send me a message on Ravelry, and maybe we can work something out. And then last but not least, I know this is going to sound strange, but if anybody ever has any leftovers from minis that they don't know what to do with, if you want to send them my way, I would love that, because as you can see, this square right here, you barely need anything for that square. Holy cow, what's wrong with me? There we go. You barely need anything for this little tiny square that you start each of the bigger squares with. So I'm always looking, sometimes I don't even need nearly 5 grams or 6 grams or whatever of a mini to get started with that. So it would be awesome. It would give me a little bit more flexibility with, framing out color choices for this project. So that's that. That is the Helen Square. Will be coming soon to a ever slowly growing Cozy Memories blanket near you. And now I want to go ahead and spend some time talking about, I guess I've been wanting to come up with a fun name for my stash enhancement, acquisitions, wool piggery. I know I like when Danny talks about her lovely things. And not that I'm against any of those titles or categories, but I was trying to think, what do I want to call this? And you know what? I'm going to keep it pretty simple, yo. It's show and tell. That's really all this is. And show and tell, when I was a first grade teacher, and some of my students, we didn't actually formally call it show and tell as I remember it when I was a kid growing up. But that's pretty much what it was. When one of my students was the student of the week, they did have a day during that week where they were allowed to bring in something special that was important to them. And I'll never forget the time when one of my little guys, Jason, brought in a rock. That was it. It was a rock. And this was a little boy who wasn't always filled with the joy that you would hope a first grader would be filled with. But man, when he talked about this rock, his face lit up. He was super excited. And that's kind of how I feel when I want to talk to people about new things that I've bought. So that's kind of where I am at with this right now. We're going to move on into what I'm going to call my show and tell section. Okay. And holy cow, boy, do I have show and tell for you. I know this is nothing new, but one thing I have been feeling so left out about is the fact that I wanted a Mrs. Brown's bag. I have been wanting a Mrs. Brown's bag for so long. I think this whole concept of having the picture of the yarn being the actual fabric of the bag, I think is really, really neat. So I was so excited. You know, it's all about timing, you guys. So I actually happened to be, I think I was checking Instagram. She posted something, and I was like, that was it, done. You know, as we all do, I don't think I had time to give it much choice, but all of the bags were lovely. I would have been happy with any of them, and I finally have scored myself a Mrs. Brown's bag. So now I want to tell you a little bit about what I have inside the bag, because that also is a little additional show and tell. So, you know, some people, like even some of my knitting friends, will often say that, you know, the price of good yarn's not a price that they're willing to pay, but not me. I've often loved the term yarn snob very, very much, but I don't know. I kind of consider myself more of a yarn connoisseur. You know, much like I was when I was learning about new wines and I wanted to try new things. That's kind of how I feel about yarn. So I'm all about, you know, I almost kind of have like a yarn bucket list that maybe I'd love to share with you guys at another time. But I do. I have a yarn bucket list, and that list grows all the time, mainly thanks to all of you podcasters out there who are the ultimate enablers in my life. But one of the yarns that's way high up, that has been high up on my bucket list for quite some time, is hedgehog fibers. And I've been wanting to try hedgehog for a long time, and I am super excited to say that the hedgehog has landed in Hillsborough, New Jersey, which is where my local yarn shop is. I was so excited when Rhonda, the shop owner, told us she was getting in hedgehog fibers. Oh my gosh, I bugged her so much to the point where she was actually sending me notifications from the postal service so that I knew exactly where the yarn was at specific times. And it just worked out perfectly. I think a day or two after it arrived, I was able to go to the shop and I was able to pick out what I wanted. I had already checked out. I knew I wanted to do something, a 3-color shawl, and I'll show you the pattern in a moment, but first I want to show you the gloriousness that is this film noir colorway. Holy cow. I am absolutely loving this. So I knew I wanted this to sort of be the, you know, the star of my shawl, if you will. But then I also wanted to bring in a couple solid colors as well. And for that, I have, so in addition to the film noir, let me grab my other 2 skeins. We also have Tosh Merino Light in the, oh gosh, I've already forgotten. This is, what is it? Coquette, I believe, is the colorway here. So let me hold that up, okay? And then we also have another Tosh Light in El Greco. So here we go, friends. Feast your eyes on that beauty together, because as soon as I get the chance to start working on this, that beauty is going to become this, which is the Carson shawl. Oh, I'm sorry. I probably should take that out of the, hang on one second. Let me take that out. Maybe it'll be less of a glare if it's not in the wrapping. How cool is that? How cool is that? I don't want to show that to you for too long, of course, because this is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. But it is the Carson shawl by Rosemary or Romy Hill. So that is actually what I'm going to have kind of getting started in the works next. And again, so excited that that upcoming project is definitely, without a doubt, going to live in my awesome new Mrs. Brown's bag. Super excited about that. Okay, so here we go. Again, I kind of felt like I was letting everybody down. I didn't have a ton of knitting, like finished knitting or in progress knitting to talk about this week. So I wanted to talk to you guys about a little problem that I have. And I don't know, maybe some of you perhaps might suffer from this as well. I remember in college, people always talking about that sort of expression called the walk of shame, where, you know, perhaps after a night of, you know, a little bit of drinking and dancing and clubbing and whatever the case might be, you know, you might have, some of your friends might have met somebody, and perhaps, you know, that next morning they were caught walking back into the dorms, you know, in the clothes they were wearing the night before, doing the walk of shame. You you're probably thinking, where are you going with this? By the way, I never once did the walk of shame. Totally truth there, I promise you. But what I have done many times over as a knitter, I'm embarrassed to admit, is the weave of shame. And the weave of shame is what I refer to as the moment when you realize that it's been like a significantly long time since you finished a project, and the only reason you haven't worn it yet is because you have a crap load of ends to weave in. Hence the weave of shame. So I have two projects that I want to show you right now that I can't even, I'm embarrassed to show you guys because these things are beautiful, but I haven't worn them. And I finished, I think one of them I finished almost 2 years ago, and one of them I may have finished toward the end of last summer. I'm not certain about that. So let me show you the more recent one first. This is the Pop Spots shawl, and I don't have the pattern on me, so in my show notes I will be sure to put the name of the pattern designer in there. This also was a paid-for pattern on Ravelry, but seriously, I think I saw Amy Beth, the Fat Squirrel, working on this, and that was when I was like, oh my god, that needs to be in my life so badly. But this is my Pop Spots finished shawl. All right, if you consider, look at how cool that is. And I have to tell you, this was one of those patterns that this looks really awesome and complicated, but it was totally not complicated at all. So go ahead and check this out. It was a really fun knit. I will admit that when you got to the end, it was pretty painful. And maybe that's why I never wove in the ends, because by the time I was done, I needed a break from it. But seriously, weave of shame, people. Weave of shame. Look at this. Look, there are the other funny story about this shawl is that I think this was one of the first projects where somebody finally taught me how to start carrying up the yarn and not have to contend with as many ends to weave in. But holy cow, yeah. How can I not be wearing this? This is stunningly awesome, I have to say, and it's got to get finished. So I have to not be weave of shaming on this one. Now, one other one that I wanted to show you guys was from a Stephen West mystery knit along that I did. I think it might have been the first Stephen West mystery knit along that I've done. This was the Color Craving. I'm sure many of you will recognize this. This was the one with those really awesome, funky, holy thingies going on down the whole thing. Really cool shawl. Definitely a fall shawl, y'all. So I wouldn't foresee myself needing to finish weaving in the ends right away for this. But again, what the hell is my problem? Ends out the butt. They're everywhere. So I don't know. If anybody has a weave of shame story that they'd like to share, this is kind of like true confessions time. Maybe it's just me, but I highly doubt that. I think there are many of you out there who've done the weave of shame yourselves. So if you need a place to come and talk about that, I'm your girl. So anyway, that was the weave of shame. Moving right along. I wanted to, last week, I talked to you guys about my very first knit along that I am co-running with my new friend, Jen Sheelan of the Jen Sheelan podcast. As I showed you last week, we are actually, and if you want to know why there are straws in here, I highly suggest you go check out just toward the very end of episode 3, because, you might get a little kick out of the story perhaps. But this is Jen Sheelan's Fairies Firelight pattern, which is absolutely stunning. And when I discovered this pattern and I wanted to make it, I was so excited about it because my brain just started spiraling out of control. It was like thinking jars all the time. And I couldn't stop thinking of how many cool gift ideas you could probably use these jars for. And she has many patterns as well. So real quick, just to recap the rules for this jar along. We will be starting officially this coming week on June 1st, and Jen and I have decided to run the jar along all the way through December. Each month there's going to be one winner from the Paws for Stitches podcast group and one winner from Jen Sheelan's podcast group. We just ask that you definitely join our groups and become a member of the group in order to participate in what we're calling the JAL. It's not a CAL, it's a JAL, the jar along. And when you finish your jar for the month, there's going to be one prize per month per group. When you finish your jar, you just have to do two things in the thread on each of the groups. Go ahead and post a picture of your finished jar, please. And then also go ahead and maybe just say a couple lines about an idea you might have for how you could gift that jar to somebody else. We wanted this to be a place for people to get cool jar ideas, so we were hoping that that would be fun and that you guys would kind of play along with that. Each month we're going to be highlighting a different one of Jen's 7 in total jar patterns that she had. Like I said, the one for June is the Fairies Firelight pattern. Oh my God, one of these days I'll get better at knowing where the heck to point stuff. And that's that. And don't forget, you can definitely enter in both groups and even multiple entries. If you finish more than one jar in a month, we welcome multiple entries as well. Now, obviously, this one is showcasing some awesome green straws. Last episode, I also had a candle lit inside here so you could see how beautiful it looks even just with a tea light inside. And one other idea I wanted to share today, which I haven't done it yet, but Jamie, my husband Jamie, makes the most amazing, holy cow, most amazing homemade granola. It's not his original recipe. It's a recipe from a bed and breakfast that we used to go to all the time in Cape May, New Jersey, called the Wooden Rabbit. And they actually, at some point, they published their own cookbook, and the granola recipe was in there. So we always have some homemade granola on hand to put on yogurt, ice cream, you know, maybe even just stick your hand in there if you want to. But don't tell anybody that, because now if you ever come to my house, you're certainly never going to want my granola if you thought that my hand was in it. But I was thinking how cool it would be to gift, you know, you wouldn't even have to make this big of a size jar. You could maybe do, I was thinking like a quart size, because by the way, Jen's patterns are written for a pint jar and a quart jar. So I thought if you covered a quart size jar that was filled with some granola and then gifted the recipe for the granola along with your jar, I thought that would be a pretty nice, pretty fun gift. So something, you know, just to think about. That's one of the things that Jen and I are planning on doing throughout the next few months, is continuing to give you guys some gift ideas for what you could do with these jars. Last thing about the jar along is, holy cow, the possibilities for double, triple, and I think maybe even now quadruple dipping are totally out there. Last week I mentioned, obviously, you know, you definitely want to enter in my group on Ravelry, Jen Sheelan's group on Ravelry, but also go ahead and check out the Downseller Studio podcast group, because Boston Jen of the Downseller Studio podcast has 2 different knit-alongs that are going on right now that I think jars would perfectly fit in with, you know, pretty nicely. So go and check those out. One of them is the 12 Months to Christmas Cal, and the other one is the Splash Pad Party Cal. Both super fun. And if you haven't listened to Jen's podcast, she's been talking a lot about both of those over the last couple months. The last thing I just discovered, because I also just discovered, thanks to Melissa, Melissa the Spicy Homemaker recommended that I check out Vicky from the Sweet Leaps podcast. And in one of her recent episodes, she was talking about her home comforts cal that she has going on, where you can actually make things for your home. Well, there you go. Another opportunity. The only thing, full disclosure, I think this cal is ending June 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So you probably would only have 1 month of an opportunity to double dip with our jar along and Vicky's Home Comforts knit along as well. So hopefully, seriously, what? So many opportunities to win a prize. How can you not? And it doesn't even really take that long to make one of these jars, and they're gorgeous. So seriously, enter everywhere, people. I'm just going to say it. You should not give away your shot. Please go ahead, enter the jowl, have a good time with this. It's going to be great. Last thing, I lied. I said that was the last thing, was announcing all the double dipping, but I think I'm ready to tell everybody what my prize for the month of June is going to be. I used the Mountaintop yarn by Classic Elite Yarns. They're the Veil yarn, which was what I used for my Fairies Firelight jar. It comes in a lot of very neutral colors, really lovely colors, by the way. But this one, I picked up an extra skein for you guys. I think this was called Parchment, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be the Veil Yarns, is going to be the prize that I am going to give away to the Jowl winner in the month of June. But it will not just be the skein of yarn. By the way, I think it probably is likely that you might be able to get, I would say definitely 2 pint jars out of this. I'm not sure if you could get, I don't know. I would have to check on the yardage for you. I'll look into that a little bit more. But anyway, I'm going to be giving away this along with a NAKED jar, okay? Because I ended up, when I wanted to get the jars for myself, I bought a whole case of them, and now I have tons of jars, so I'd be happy to share them. But not only that, Jen Sheelan is awesome, and she has also said that I could ask, I could throw in for my winner. You guys can go ahead and let Jen Sheelan know which one of her jar patterns you would like gifted to you, and we would throw that in as well. So if you win the prize, you will have pretty much everything you need aside from the needles. You're on your own with that. You'll have pretty much everything you need to go ahead and make hopefully a couple jars. So go ahead and check that out. All right. We have about, I think, 35-ish minutes into this. I wanted to save a little bit of time to also talk to you guys about something I haven't really mentioned before. I have only talked about knitting so far. I haven't really ventured into any stories about my spinning adventures. So I am what I would consider right now sort of a spinner in the making. I'm pretty much a newbie. I only started, I guess, maybe about a year ago. Yeah. So I guess maybe back in April, I came up to my 1-year spiniversary. And, again, I blame you podcasters for this, because watching everybody with their fiber and their drop spindles and their gorgeous wheels and whatnot, I had to do it. But I also was looking for something that would bring me, not that knitting doesn't do this, but I wanted something that would be sort of meditative and calming for me. And so I started taking lessons on a spinning wheel first, and I did that at Twist Knitting and Spinning, which is a local yarn shop in Lahaska, Pennsylvania. And one of the neat things about the lessons that I took with Debbie, who was my amazing instructor, she let me test out some different wheels first. I didn't actually come into this already owning my own wheel. She suggested that I take the opportunity, through my lessons to kind of experiment, try a few different wheels, and to see what I would like best. I was hooked from the very first lesson. I absolutely loved it. In fact, I do recall there were moments where Debbie was yelling at me and reminding me that I probably needed to stop and actually eat some lunch at some point in time. It's possible I may have also left there with the spinning chair glued to my butt, because it was so permanently, I was so permanently attached to that seat by that time. I was afraid to stop, because I was, as I finally started to at least get some sort of rhythm and the hang of what I was doing with, with everything in the process, I really had a great time and enjoyed it. But I would say shortly, I think after my second lesson, I took 4 beginner lessons with Debbie at Twist. And by the time I was done with my second lesson, I pretty much had decided that I wanted to treat myself to, I ended up getting a Shocked Sidekick as my very first spinning wheel. I very quickly named her Lady Sybil, because when I bought my wheel, I was right around the time where I was binge watching old seasons of Downton Abbey, and I was so overcome with grief and sadness when Sybil passed away that I decided that I needed her name to live on in my life somehow. So it is now doing so through my spinning wheel, Lady Sybil. So Lady Sybil and I bonded for several months, but then something else interesting started to happen. I was listening to Sarah Pomegranate of the Yarns at Yinhu podcast, and she had been talking to her listeners about an experience that she was going through last year, which was the sheep to shawl class that she was taking at the Fibercraft Studio, which is in Chestnut Ridge, New York. And what this is, well, I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but I will just say that listening to Sarah talk about this, I don't know what else to call it, but just an amazing experience, like almost life-changing experience, the way she described it. Every time I listened to one of Sarah's podcasts, there was this like little thing haunting in my brain saying this may be something that you want to check out at some time. Right around the same time, my good friend Kathy, a friend from my knitting group, I didn't even realize this, but suddenly I realized that she actually was in the same class as Sarah from the Yarns at Yinhu podcast. So by December of last year, I had Kathy in one ear telling me about this and how great it was, Sarah in my ear in the car telling me how great this was, and I was like, that's it. I need to get a spot for the 2016 Sheep to Shawl class, and I did. So here's the thing. Over the next several podcasts, I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about everything we've done so far right now. But over the next several podcasts, I'd like to tell you guys a little bit more about my sheep to shawl adventures. In a nutshell, let me just give you a little bit of background though. The goal of this course is that you, for once a month for an entire year, you're pretty much learning sort of the whole process of spinning and hand dyeing and dyeing yarn, all natural plant-based dyes and all of that sort of thing. But your goal is to go literally from the fleece right off of the sheep, and by the end of this course, your goal is to have designed something that you are going to make using all of the yarn that you have hand spun. And I emphasize hand spinning because everything that we are doing in this class is on a drop spindle, which is kind of interesting for me because, you know, having started my spinning career, if you will, on a wheel, it was interesting adjusting to what it would be like doing things a little bit differently, working on a drop spindle. So, but part of what this course is all about is kind of connecting yourself to the history of spinning. And to think that people have been working with something like a drop spindle for over 10,000 years, when you're doing it, it's a really cool connection that you feel to history, almost sort of in a magical way. Our very first class, I will tell you, we actually went so primitive as to, we were taught how to take a rock and a stick, fasten them together, and actually use it as somebody would have used a drop spindle, those materials to make a drop spindle many, many years ago. But eventually we ended up making our own drop spindle, which, is this mine? Yep, this is mine. So we were just given, obviously, the pieces that we needed. All right, and we have our whirl, which obviously this is a top whirl spindle. And as you can see, I actually have some of my fleece that I've been spinning in the works on here. So that was actually kind of cool. Now, of course, just like any of the rabbit holes associated with all of the fiber arts, I immediately realized that one drop spindle was not going to be enough in my life. So shortly, maybe I would say by about the third class we were into, I also decided to start experimenting with sort of the world of the Turkish spindle as well. So far, I have actually purchased for myself 2 Turkish spindles. One of them is a turtle-made spindle. I'm going to definitely talk more about this at a certain point, but right now I can't because it's sad and embarrassing to tell you that I bought this spindle to be my good luck New York Rangers spindle as I was watching the playoffs. But as we know, that obviously the spindle wasn't very good luck, but I still love it. And I'll talk about that more in an upcoming episode. And then the other thing that I really was super excited to purchase for myself was this beauty, which is a Jenkins spindle, which, holy cow, this thing smells, this looks really pretty with my kitchen in the background. Holy crap. That looks really nice. But anyway, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Where I am at right now, sort of in my spinning journey, is one thing I've learned about myself, and I don't know if this is good or bad. Sometimes I feel like it could go either way, but I tend to spin very finely. And I need to work on that for several reasons. Well, I need to do one of two things. I need to experiment with being able to spin, you know, maybe not quite as finely as I have been, although this is a little, some of my more recent spinning, and this doesn't look too bad, actually. This isn't too bad at all. But I need to start getting into plying. I have pretty much what I would describe as plyophobia at the moment. I kind of feel like at some point, and I don't want to cheat in my class because I know we're supposed to be doing everything on these drop spindles, but I kind of feel like I could end up being the person, if there is such a person, that likes to spin my singles on a drop spindle. That would be a pleasurable, enjoyable experience for me, but that I think I'm really going to be a spinning wheel plier kind of gal. So I don't know. This is also new to me, and which is partly why it's odd to talk about on the podcast, because I listen to so many of you who are such experienced spinners. But I'd like to think sometimes it's nice to hear from somebody that's newer and learning along the way, because some of you out there might be in the same boat and we might all be able to help each other. So I think what I'm trying to tell you guys is that over these next several podcasts, what I'd like to do is kind of feature sort of the main thing we've learned at each of the classes we've had so far. I kind of probably covered the first one already, but I would like to make this sort of a regular part of my podcast, where I tell you a little bit about where I am in this whole spinning journey, as I like to call it. So I think the one thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, though, that I absolutely loved is in I might have been after the fourth class. I'm going to put a quote up because I think it kind of captures where I am at with spinning right now and how I feel about it. But we studied and we talked a little bit about Gandhi. And he was quoted once of saying, the simple work of our hands can liberate our hearts. And I do, that is kind of, one of the things, as I said, I wanted to be able to spin as something sort of just meditative and peaceful. And that would definitely be something I would like to share with others who are interested in starting to spin themselves. Okay, so here's the thing. I am going to take a break because we're going to just take a break because, as I'm sure some of you maybe are wondering, if Jamie is going to pay everybody a little visit today. It'll be a short one, but I bought him something that he knows nothing about, and I thought it would actually be kind of fun to give it to him on the podcast. So he is currently outside right now. He is, I don't know, I think he's blowing leaves. I don't know, something about, he says to me, I want to make a prairie. I'm like, what are you talking about? He apparently bought some kind of seed packages and is, I don't know, I want to say he's spreading his seed all over Wilmington, but that really doesn't sound very good. So let me find another way to say that. I don't even know how to say that. I'll be literal. He's taking the seeds out of the packages and sprinkling them kind of along the area where you come in leading up to our house. So I don't want to disturb him from spreading his seed at the moment. So I'm going to pause here and we'll come back and just give Jamie his gift. So I will see you in a minute. Hey everybody, we are back 2 days later actually. I recorded the rest of this episode 2 days ago, and today is Memorial Day, so happy Memorial Day. Hopefully everybody's having a great Memorial Day weekend. As you can see, Jamie and I are sitting out here on the porch. It's lovely, and we just wanted to kind of, finish out the episode with a little OMJ segment. And as I mentioned earlier, I actually told you guys that I had a little present that I wanted to give Jamie. I haven't even opened this package yet, so I am really excited to see what this looks like myself, and also hoping that Jamie will like his gift. Clarence's head is sort of in here. I don't know if it'll be popping up from time to time, but now either that or he's going to slide down and knock the entire camera off the table. But whatever, we'll see what happens. We'll deal with it if that happens. So, are you ready for your present?
Of course, I'm always ready.
Look at this fine wrap job, you guys, that I did. Not even out of the package yet. I brought you a scissor just in case that sticky stuff was problematic. There you go. Do you have any ideas what this might be?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do.
Why would I have an idea?
Because I've been hinting at you needing something.
Oh.
But this is
a new project bag with beer. No way.
How cool is? Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Awesome.
Feel how and it's even craft beer, local beer.
It's thick. Why is it so thick?
Because it's got awesome.
Oh, look at it! It's got presents inside.
What is that? Oh, look at that, you guys! Oh, this is so exciting. This is like Christmas for everybody.
What's this?
I don't know.
Oh, these are.
Enjoy these extras.
Hey, whoa!
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Somebody just.
Oh,
somebody else got excited.
We're having some camera issues here because this is so exciting. Look at this. The pickle pin is from the Heinz factory in Pittsburgh. I wonder if, by the way, this bag, you guys, is from Roberta, who is Steel City Stitcher on Instagram and has her own Etsy shop. I saw her post this on Instagram. There were actually 2 sizes of this beer bag, and I knew that when you said you wanted something manly, I kind of interpreted that to mean beer. So this is awesome. Holy cow, this bag is gorgeous. See, I wish you guys... What are these,
stitch markers?
There are. It looks like some stitch markers in there.
There's a beer stitch marker.
No way.
Yeah. I'm wearing my beer pickle tomorrow. My pickle pin? Tomorrow. My pickle pin tomorrow.
There you go. That's amazing. So anyway, she even says, P.S. I hope Jamie loves his manly bag.
How did she? Oh, you must have texted her.
I'm guessing perhaps Roberta may have watched the episode where you shared your pathetic project box. And
oh, I like my project box.
Yeah, well, I know you
I've collected a second one too.
But this is amazing. And how appropriate that when we're oh wow, the wind's picking up a little bit here. Ooh, look at the trees in the background. That looks really exciting. But actually now you can even get a better. Holy cow! This bag is there goes Clarence. Yeah. This bag is awesome. I love it. I might want this bag.
You can't have it.
I know. I know. Well, I could buy another one.
There's a pocket inside.
That's amazing.
There's 2 pockets inside.
Actually, you know what? I think this is probably one of the thickest project bags I've ever purchased. This is really well made, you guys. Go ahead. Please go over to Steel City Stitcher and check out Roberta's bags. She had a ton of fun ones. It was actually hard to choose, but as soon as I saw her post the picture of this beer one, I knew that Jamie had to have it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
All right, so now you need to put your new sock project in there.
Yep.
And you can then still keep your hat project in the other bag from Fernanda.
Yep.
So, all right.
That's awesome. Well, I'll load it up right when we're done.
All right. Well, we don't have a lot of time left, you guys, because my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law are actually out. They went into Lake Placid. I guess maybe we were not exciting enough for them. What do you think?
Could be.
Yeah, that's possible. But they went in. It's actually my mother-in-law's birthday today, so happy birthday, Rachel. If you actually end up watching this, obviously it'll be after your birthday by the time it posts, but we're planning on having a little special dinner for her tonight, right? Well, yeah. You had original plans for a special dinner, but we're just going to modify that a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah, but we're still going to do a clam bake.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a big clam bake for her.
Memorial Day seems like the perfect day for that. We've done that up here before, and Jamie always puts out quite a spread, so he's actually got to head into town and pick up some stuff for that. But in the meantime, you know, it's Memorial Day, so what would Memorial Day be without really good beer? So because we are up here at the cabin, we are enjoying a couple of our favorite local beers. I'm actually drinking an Ubu Ale, which is from the Lake Placid Pub and Brewery, right in the heart, you know, right on the water almost in Lake Placid. It's an amazing place to go and grab a bite to eat, grab a pint. Yeah, we're pretty frequent visitors there, would you say?
Absolutely.
with our
Keep it in business.
We may actually keep it. Well, maybe with our
I don't think we keep it in business. It's a wonderful place.
That is true.
But no,
I'm
we
sure
frequent the place a lot.
our growler refills might help them a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, Ubu is their signature beer, though, and it's amazing. You can actually get Ubu bottled in many liquor stores. So if you are a beer drinker...
But it doesn't taste the same.
That is true. Well, nothing tastes as good as it tastes on tap.
Well, it's also... he has a contract with another brewery down in Utica. Is it Utica? Yeah, Utica. So, so it just tastes totally different. They also have a Hefeweizen, and they also have...
you mean that you can get bottled?
In bottles, and it's
the
distributed around the country.
Ale too, you can get that, right?
I think it's they changed the name of that when he got a contract with another contract brewer to brew his recipes. So if you're up here, try it. It's a lot better brewed here locally than from a mass commercial brewer.
Yeah, it's awesome. What are you drinking? Same thing, or do you have the Roush beer?
No, I actually have all day IPA from Founders.
Okay. Well, that's great.
You got some stuff in your hair.
What do you mean?
From the wind.
As long as
I just noticed it.
Awesome. As long as it's not a bee, we're okay. Because that would be something to behold on camera. We're not sure why, but I'm deathly afraid of bees. And I usually go running like a big baby when one's near me.
They won't do a thing to you.
All right, so all day IPA is usually a good sign that Jamie's got some big plans of stuff you want to work on. But probably we'll see what happens with that. But one more thing I just wanted to show you guys that we picked up yesterday, too. The other brewery that we like in Lake Placid is the Great Adirondack Steak and Seafood, and they brew their own beer as well. And they also have the most adorable cups that you can buy, and this was a new one that obviously we had to have because... Amazing that Addie is now like their mascot or something.
That's not Addie.
Yeah, it is. It's totally Addie. And
it's Joshua.
And some little tiny dog in the background, which I'm not really sure who that's supposed to be. But
I don't know who that is.
In all seriousness, you guys, this was kind of neat. They're actually, it actually says right on the back here, a portion of the proceeds from this glass are donated to the Joshua Fund, helping dogs with life-threatening conditions, one beer at a time. And one of the things we love, we've collected several of these glasses. One of the things we love is that they always have some sort of quote, a beer-related quote on the back. And this one actually says, in dog beers, well, I shouldn't have drank as much as I did. You would have seen it better. Oh, well. In dog beers, I've had only one. I've only had one. So that's a good motto to live by, I suppose. So that's it. We got to get the clam bake started.
Yep.
I got to get this episode wrapped up and sent out because we're on pretty good time here. My goal was to keep this episode under an hour, and I think I may have done that.
Oh my gosh.
I totally think I might have done. I know Jamie's shocked. He's been yelling at me and telling me that nobody's going to want to listen to me for more than an hour, so I've been trying. I tried really hard.
We already wasted 9 minutes of these great people's lives.
Yeah, but we had wind, beer, we had
we did
presents.
We
had surprise presents.
Got excitement going on.
Yeah, so I think this was a worthy 9 minutes. I don't think this was wasted time at all. But I just wanted to remind everybody before we say goodbye, don't forget, if you watch this and you are Hamilton obsessed, I hope you were taking your notes and writing down all the Hamilton references because, as I said, my goal was to keep this under an hour because one of the things I'm trying to learn is that maybe I should just...
Talk less and smile more.
Talk less.
How did I know that?
Smile more.
We didn't even plan that.
That we actually did not, but Jamie knew exactly what I was thinking, what was going to come out of my mouth. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. We hope that you've all had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
As always. And I hope that you take some time this week to pause for those stitches. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.